I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at villageXchange@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in a Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed.
And a child shall lead them.
Child shall lead them. Speaking of merch, this right here is not our merch. This is the artwork of our current DJ. That's DJ AT.
True.
The artwork to the left of me is God's artwork, and the artwork to the right of me is DJ's artwork. I mean, AT's artwork.
AT, did you take that picture? Like, were you hiking or something like that? Because I'm pretty sure wasn't AT's the one that had it. He was climbed up on the top of a mountain. He was standing on the top of a mountain.
Yeah.
For one of his pieces. So, did you take that picture at the top of a mountain? Because those are the type of skinny, odd trees you find when you get to less oxygen.
Oh, okay.
You know, they get like the trees get shorter.
Yeah, I'll smite that upon thee with furious anger. I'm down with the struggle.
You guys, I'm very excited to be doing a stream right now. We did one like just a smidge ago, but I don't know. They're fun. Oh, also I had an idea.
What did we do? What?
Well, we hadn't done like a bunch of streams, and then we did one just recently, and so
yeah, it was so fun.
Yeah, right. So I'm happy that we're doing another one. Also, I had an idea for New Year's.
Okay. I want to, guys, if anybody knows anything about this metaverse stuff, put me on, because I'm not opposed to the metaverse stuff. I think there's going to be more good than bad that comes out of the metaverse. So I'm pretty excited. So if we could do some like village metaverse shit, that would be legit. Mm-hmm. So
speaking of metaverse, well, it's kind of, but not really. I was talking to somebody today that the person that they were talking about that passed away was a very strong Christian and had been for pretty much their whole life. But when the person was dying, he was laying in his bed and he looked at his wife and he said, "Do you see those people over there?" And she was like, "There's nobody there." And he said, "Well, they're smiling at me." And there was 3 of them. That was interesting to me. And she was like, "Yeah." But then, conversation carried on. Then the next day he was doing worse. And then the next day he told her they're here again. And then he said, "I think I have 1 foot in this world and 1 in the next." Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Then he went into a comatose state after that. Like, not like literally after he said it, but he ended up going to a comatose state. And then his grandson, who was completely against any and all forms of religion, was sitting in the room with him. His wife left to go get a drink because she'd been waiting there a while. And he was in a comatose state. He sat up, he put his arms straight up, and he looked really happy. And then he laid down and he passed away. The son said that was it for him. This was 2 years ago. He started bringing his kids and everybody to church, his girlfriend, everybody. Everybody's going to church because he knew that how his papa was, and that he knew his papa's religion was serious to him. So he was like, okay, there's definitely something there.
Yeah.
So I thought it was pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shout out to the homie.
But it
Damn
reminded me
great.
of the Hoffman stuff. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
whole. I think that if that philosophy or thought of process can be adopted, it must be helpful. Like when you think about people that have already passed away, like it's closer than they're closer than they seem. You know what I mean? Because they're in another realm, but how far is that
Yeah.
realm really?
Oh, I know.
But anyway.
We're all in the metaverse at some degree. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Ben Webb is in the house. That means we must begin. Shout out to the big homie Ben Webb. So there's that. All right, we are coming right back to... No, we already did the commercial.
So music is about to stop.
You interrupted us is what happened.
Yes, with a very interesting story.
Ascending Beyond That August Firmament is the first song that we have. The name of the song, again, dear listener, is Ascending Beyond That August Firmament.
That's the band?
That's the name of the song.
Okay.
And let us begin. Let's go right now.
Skyborne Reveries?
Not what I expected. This is a black metal band?
Yeah. Atmospheric black metal.
Damn.
Wow. That was an interesting start to the stream.
Yeah, considering what you just talked about.
Oh, yeah.
I was saying, you just talked about this.
Yeah.
And then the guy is ascending.
Well, you said we just talked about this, but I hadn't even looked at the lyrics yet.
Oh. Okay, so you just kind of yupped me off. Like,
Well, no, I said to myself, he must be talking about somebody else and thought it was me he talked to. Because you talk to so many people.
Please Google Aware Project results. Not all is rainbows here. Also, please react summoning farewell. Aware Project results. Go ahead. So what was going on with you?
Man, well, I just liked this. So, I mean, generally speaking, when black metal is the topic, I'm like, I'm either gonna really hate it or I'm gonna be like, oh, all right. And so I didn't know what I was walking into, and then it started so different. It sounded like, I mean, it had a sort of happy sound to it. And I'm like, okay, it's going to get real bad. Someone's getting massacred, something. Like, I just thought it was going to go really dark. And then it just kept going, and I liked it. The vocals started. I liked it. And then I saw I Ascend, and that was the only line that I listened to. After that, I was just kind of like listening. And then I focused in on the lyrics later down when it said, the midnight rains have passed, only light remains. The lifetime pains are gone, only hope remains. I am the wind, I am the sun, I am the gentle rays of light that pass through the clouds. Among aurora and beside a gentle... Cirrus?
Cirrus. Cloud.
What is that? Oh, yeah, that's right. That's the type of cloud.
Yeah.
We are the heralds of the sky. I was like, wow, it was like uplifting. To me, it was, so you saw this as more of like death and ascension?
It says ascending beyond that August firmament. If you're ascending beyond the firmament, I mean, that means you're going up past the sky, right?
It said August firmament?
August just means it's a grandiose type thing.
Where was that?
That's the title of the song.
Oh, okay. So when I was listening to it, I was thinking of it more as like depression and, darkness and stuff like that, and like a breaking through that. I ascend, I soar. Again, like I said, I didn't see the...
I am complete, I'm alive, I am home.
Yeah.
I ascend, I fly, I revive hope. I greet the clouds and kiss the sun.
Yeah, I skipped that like middle section, and I was in on the sound, and then I came back in when it got to the midnight rains have passed. Only light remains. Well... That is such an interesting song, you're right, to come on after that discussion.
Yeah,
that's so
you,
weird.
You had no idea.
No.
Obviously. You had no idea. But that's... You told that story. That was your family member? A family member of yours?
No.
A friend of a friend?
A friend of the family, I guess you could say.
Yeah, you told the story. This guy, he was seeing people in his room, and then...
They were smiling at him, and then all of a sudden, the second day after he was seeing those same people and he realized his wife was not seeing them, then he said, I must have one foot in this world and one foot in the other.
Yeah.
And he went out and this actually, my parents were both raised Catholic, and these were the people, that couple was the couple that actually like kind of like turned the corner for my parents, and they left the Catholic Church and went to a Protestant church. But they are the same people that so when I was a kid, I don't know how much details to get, maybe it's a little weird for some people, but I kept like wetting the bed. I was like 5 years old and I was still like wetting the bed, and not even just the bed, like I'd be outside playing and then all of a sudden what was going on, and I thought, of course I would get in trouble for it because my parents thought I was being lazy. But then after a while, they were like, this doesn't make any sense. They brought me to the doctors, and they found out there's like a little valve that's supposed to keep the urine like inside your body, and that valve was not working. And they said that apparently it had been going into my kidneys. And so they told my parents, her kidneys could be completely gone, and she'll probably have to be hooked up to dialysis for at least 2 hours a day for the rest of her life. And these people said, nope, we're going to pray over her and God's going to heal her. God doesn't always heal people. He has his reasons, I guess. For me, he did. I was too little to even really realize it. So they prayed over me, and then I went to the doctors, and they didn't do surgery. They were going in to look to see how bad the damage was, and when they checked out the damage, they said that my kidneys were like a brand new baby. Like there was literally no damage at all. And they said that the problem that was there previously was completely gone. It must have repaired itself. And all the other kids that had to go through the same thing as I did, they were all throwing up after the thing. I wasn't. I was asking for toast and orange juice. And you weren't supposed to eat before you went in. And I was so hungry. I went into the car and I dug in the cushions of the thing. And I found some candies and I ate the candy. So I had eaten before I went in, too. Yeah. But it was just But anyway, so those are the people that prayed over me. And that was the guy when he was dying. He saw the people in his room, but they were smiling. And it was a good thing. Wasn't like a terrifying thing.
And then he put his hands up, and that was the end of that.
And that was it. Yep. And his grandson, when he was watching him die like that, that's what completely changed his route of spirituality, because it was undeniable to him. His grandfather's life itself was a testimony, just undeniable.
I had a similar. I remember the first time you told me that, and I remember exactly where I was, because I had a similar situation, and it's crazy because I asked my dad. I'm like, "Yo," because my dad still has all my records and shit. And one day, eventually, I might say mine publicly, but like,
I thought you had. No,
I was the only person I'd known that had an experience like that as a kid, and then you said it, and like, what are the odds?
I know
that the two of us,
right,
what I'm saying,
and you shouldn't even be alive, and I should have to be hooked up every.
And they said he's not going to be able to see, and he's not going to have any kids. That's what they said.
No glasses, nothing for this guy.
Yeah, both my brothers have glasses, and I have more kids than both my brothers combined. Times 2, I think. Yeah.
What?
So, yeah. Jamie's got 2. And Junior's got 2. So it's damn near close to combined. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, yeah, like, what's crazy to me? Like, I have been, reading so many scientists. Like, I haven't really been focusing a lot on my theology. I should, but man, the more and more I read these guys, the more I realize that they all know that I'm not going to go as far as Hoffman and say space-time is dead. Although Hoffman's not the one that invented that term. It was another physicist that said that what we think about as space-time is dead. Like, mathematically, it can't be proven.
When you say space-time, what do you mean?
The assumptions that this thing right here is, whatever, and
it's dead?
Yeah, because there are so many factors that go into, okay, what is the physical world, plus our perception, plus when we perceive something, are we actually doing it? It's a whole bunch of shit that's way over my pay grade, but I'm just listening to these people, I'm like, holy shit. So Hoffman talks about, matter being fundamental versus consciousness being fundamental. Mm-hmm. Like, what came first? Mm-hmm. And so it's like, it's mind-boggling to me. And then I was listening to, and granted, I think he's a little bit off the rocker. It's Tom DeLonge. He's got this To the Stars Academy thing where they're researching UFOs or UAPs or whatever. And he was talking about how in the future, the dichotomy that's made between science and the artist, for example, so science is objective and art is subjective. He's saying is going to be melded together, because you kind of have to do some imaginative guesswork to get to certain idea. Like, for example, like, we don't have dinosaur bones completely intact, right? So you get this, and then you kind of say, okay, this is what it kind of looks like. It's the same thing with, like, the Earth. Like, this is a digitally modified yada 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 of what the Earth looks like from space, and then you get all the conspiracy theories go, aha! So we don't really have a real, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So there's a confluence between art and science, and he said, in the future we're going to figure out that that's that they're different sides of the same coin, and that's how we're going to do science and art. And
I think he's right.
Well, he left out religion, but I firmly, again, what is the difference between saying this is magic, right? And versus saying we haven't cracked the scientific code for XYZ thing.
Yeah.
So, like 300 years ago, if you could be in a time machine and then you could text somebody, they would say that this is a magic box that you have. Mm-hmm. And it would be right to a degree, right? It's just something that is beyond perceived capability.
Yeah.
But because we've cracked the code as to how the universe is wired, we've been able to manipulate that so that we can communicate with each other. Mm-hmm. So when I say Jesus doing miracles and all the rest of it, it's like, well, what's the difference between saying if he's the programmer, he knows how to reorient the program so now that you can see.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm watching all the stuff about the metaverse and this immersive world that you're in and all that, and it's like, we're at the foothills of that. We've been around for, 10,000 years or whatever. Like, what if you had a being that's been around for billions of years? You don't even have to have God to have a very realistic metaverse type experience. And it was really interesting because it's like, if you die in the metaverse, you can either choose to respawn in the metaverse or, because you're controlling that avatar from outside, right? And so when we talk about the next world, in reality, this is the next world, right? If you go with the theory that this is all a metaverse, right? We're all in a metaverse somewhere. This is the next world,
right?
So So who's to say that we're not just running these avatars from outside, but in order for the game to work, we can't know. We have to forget that we're running the avatar from outside.
That's so weird. Yeah.
Because a lot of these people, when they have NDEs, there's all this familiarity and like I've been here before type of situation.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you never left really type of thing. So it's just really fascinating. So when you hear people talk about like, and what's really been cool to me is like, again, scientifically speaking, and one of our folks said, you need to look up this phrase. So look at this. Yeah. So they did a pretty cool study. During the NDE near-death experience, the patient felt quite euphoric. The patient heard an automated voice saying, shock the patient, shock the patient. The patient rose near the ceiling and looked down on his physical body. The nurse and another man, bald and quite a chunky fellow who wore blue scrubs and a blue hat. The patient could tell the man was bald because of where the hat was. The next day, the patient recognized the bald man who attended him during the resuscitation. Now, this guy was passed out prior to the resuscitation. So he recognized this guy.
Yeah.
The medical record confirmed the use of an AED, an automated external defibrillator that would give the automated instructions the patient heard, and the role that the identified man played during the resuscitation. He was dead at this point. That's why they had to shock his heart back, back.
Yeah.
And so it was just, it's a very, I mean, this is a scholarly paper. I mean, this is not, and here's the conclusions to this study, okay? This was really interesting to me, the conclusions that they had. The study's author concluded that in some cases of cardiac arrest, memories of visual awareness compatible with so-called out-of-body experience may correspond with actual events.
So weird.
A number of NDEs may have vivid death experiences but do not recall them due to the effects of brain injury or sedative drugs on memory circuits. The recalled experience surrounding death merits a genuine investigation without prejudice. So, like, you get these people, they're like, oh, there's no consciousness after death, or the idea that your brain is a source of your mind. And it's like, what do you do with that? Mm-hmm. What do you do with that? Because there have been hundreds and thousands of these testimonies of people that were saying they left their body, and somehow they could still hear, see, think, etc.
Have they ever done any of these tests where their like brains are hooked up to the, like all those little wires, and then they can see what the brain activity is? Like brain activity is done, everything's done, and they still can perceive what's in the room? Or was that not part of it?
Well, I mean, a lot of these people have been pronounced dead. Like, they clocked it.
Yeah, but they're clocking it based off what the heart is doing, right?
Well, they're clocking
do they have brain activity also on this?
Well, even after you're pronounced dead, you have... Because your brain, I mean, it just reacts to electricity, to circuitry. That's all it does. Your brain doesn't, this is part of the hard problem of consciousness.
The mind and the brain are not the same.
Yeah, this is the problem of the hard problem of consciousness is that, your brain is just basically an electricity receptor. So your lungs say, hey, and your brain doesn't know that that's your lungs. All it knows is there's an electrical circuit, and this is what we do when we get this type of signature, and then it, whatever.
That's why if you I'm doing a lot of studying on anxiety, stress, and different things like that. The brain is not as, I don't want to say cool, but it reacts. Like you just said, it reacts to stuff. So if you don't use your mind to train your brain, then your brain might bring you on a really wild ride, and you could be under a lot of stress and duress unnecessarily because you haven't properly trained your brain how to handle certain situations and what to do when you have anxieties and when you have stressors. I wish I had the link so I could say.
When I
"Here,
say
check this
10,000,
out."
I'm talking about us being historical, being able to use technology in a legible way, right? Like cuneiform, things like that, which I look at that period as the time when technology began. So you got the wheel, you've got language, cuneiform, that type of thing. For us to be able to, so from, if you just look at technology from 10,000 years ago to now, the leaps are exponential. That's the point. So if you had other beings that were sentient that could utilize technology and they were billions of years old, then them creating a metaverse here is nothing. It's like literally child's play.
Like a game.
Because you could have kids right now that could recreate Super Mario Brothers, the first one. You know,
Oh, yeah.
Little 8-bit
Oh,
thing.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
What happened?
I'll tell you later. It's a family situation.
Oh, no.
So yeah, it's just very, very fascinating to me, you know, and the more I think about it, like the more it's like I'm getting a lot of enjoyment and closeness to God looking at science and looking at scientific method. And it's really interesting because like there's so many people that just want to discount these near-death experiences. It's like these are documented.
I know.
Experience, and it's what Guy said. Like we should look into this without prejudice.
Yeah.
And like this is what people have to understand. People are like, oh, you're using religion because you don't want to deal with the real world, and you're using hyperskepticism for the same reason.
Ooh.
Because if there is a
You
life
always say
after
that.
this,
Put that thing that's out.
if you're using life, look, man. If there is life after this life, then that has a lot of implications.
Yeah.
And some people want to pretend that this life is all that there is because there's a whole bunch of benefits to that kind of idea. Mm-hmm. You know.
Yep.
So.
Absolutely.
I just think,
absolutely.
I just think it's just. It's amazing to me, like. But when I heard this song, I was like, "Damn! I cannot wait till like 3 or 4 in the morning, be by myself, and have some contemplative time in my little."
I think it will be. I think it will be 3 or 4 for you this time. Last night, I knew like I was still too tired from the events of the day before. Like from the second I woke up, I knew I was going to be going to bed early. So midnight rolled around, and I was like. But tonight I'm going to be up a little later.
It's just it's so fascinating.
Yeah.
This stuff, you know, my mom.
Yeah.
My mom had my mom had one.
A near-death experience?
Just I don't think I've ever told you this.
No, you never told me that.
The last conversation I had with her is one of the last things she told me.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What did she say?
And at that point, I thought that's one of the reasons why I called you right after that conversation. I said, I'm never going to see her again.
I wanted you to be lying. Every time you repeat
like
the
she-
story, I always say,
But she was so happy when she was having the conversation.
Really?
It was weird. I think both of us knew that she was saying goodbye.
Really?
But yeah, she talked about like she had a pretty vivid NDE that was pretty euphoric for her.
And? You're not going to say
I'm not
it.
going to talk about it here, but
Oh, that's pretty crazy.
yeah, and I think that's another one of the reasons why I didn't really react the way my brothers did. One, because I got to say goodbye to her, because my mom was one of those people that there's a lot of unfinished business, you know, a lot of untied shoelaces. Shout out to the homie. But yeah, she had one, and it was pretty vivid, and it was one of those things where it's like, you know, the normal like, I'm staying right here. This is really good real estate, and she met somebody, another one of my family members, up there, and her theology completely militated against that person being there, but she saw her anyway. Yeah, so I'll tell you that story because I don't think I told you that part of it because it was just so crazy. But
I didn't even know that she had that experience. I don't remember you saying that, and I feel like that's something I would remember.
No, I didn't tell you. I didn't tell you that.
Wow,
I didn't
that's
tell you.
crazy.
So, hey, shout out to Chris.
I'll tell you, when you were talking about those things on the, like when you're like, I had a dream that I died. And I've never actually died in my dreams before, but I did. I died. And they had those things on me to jumpstart. It was cold. The little things were cold. And I was like, wow, I'm really surprised these are cold, is what I was thinking.
Uh-huh.
It just reminded me when I saw the thing.
Really, really interesting. I love this song. This
So
song.
if I go and that happens, know that I knew.
This song is a really, really high mark for me. Really high mark for me.
It's definitely a very high mark for me too. Just leave it there, honey.
10.5. 10.5 at least for me. I really, really love this
I'm going to match you.
Thank you so much, AT.
I'm going to match you.
When we talk, AT, we got to have a conversation when that talk is ever going to happen, inshallah. But when we have that talk, I do want to talk about this NDE stuff because I want to deep dive with somebody on it, and I think you'd be the perfect person because I think we're on the other side, but you're still searching. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You want to have conversations with people that you can push and shove.
Yeah. Yeah.
But not like, like there's some things that it's just like, okay, nobody's budging, nobody's trying to learn. But then there's other times where it's like, well, yeah, man, and you can get somewhere.
He's just one of the most genuine seekers of truth I've ever, come across.
And that's A1. That is A1.
Yeah, it especially on this journey because, I do think a lot of Christians are terrified of science because they think it's going to deconstruct their worldview. But I always looked at science if God is too weak to stand up to scientific facts, then I'm out.
I mean, yeah.
And now I'm looking at it, and the more I'm looking at it, I just laugh when I hear these people talk, man. like they were talking about the metaverse, and he's like, the human hand is really hard to engineer.
Yes, I know. You were like, ah! As soon as he said that.
Every time these people talk, when they talk to each other unguarded, they always use language about engineering and design and all the rest of it. And they say, this is what it was designed for. Yada, yada. I'm like, I got you son of a bitch. Anyway, 10.5. I love this song.
Yeah, beautiful.
Great song. Really strong start. AT, holy shit. I could chill out in this song and where it took me all day.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, but I'm not around.
It's funny because sometimes we listen to songs and I'll give it a low score and Vinny will be like, this one's going on the playlist. I'm like, ugh. This one though, I'm like, excellent. Put that on the playlist. Play this. Sometimes he's awake.
I put it on my phone. I put it on the phone because I'm like, I do not want to miss this song. This shit is going on the playlist, so I'm going to put it on my phone. Matter of fact, I'm going to put it in music right now.
Sometimes he'll be awake and I'm asleep and something will be on the TV. So the next day I'll be like, oh, I know some random fact about some rapper. Anyway, so this will be this will be nice getting into my dreams. That sound. Yeah. All right, you guys. So that's the end of this review, but don't worry. We have many more to come.
Many more.
We're just at the beginning of our time together. Up next is a band.
Hold on. I don't know if my experience... Well, Amy. We got to talk about Amy. I don't know if my experience is real or not, but I fainted when they were drawing blood, and I faint at the sight of blood. This time I saw myself on the floor, and I was yelling to people below to sprinkle water, etc., etc. Yeah. Why wouldn't it be real?
I feel like you would do that too.
Why wouldn't it be real? Why wouldn't that be real? How could you doubt that? You had the experience. Mm-hmm. It was real. He was
that's crazy.
Joe Rogan talks about the machine elves or whatever that you meet on a DMT high, and he was asking one of these guys is it are those things real?
Yeah.
And the guy's response was very. He said they've truly experienced it. So in that sense, it's real.
Okay, that just gave me goosebumps. Wow. Yeah.
Right? Just because something is metaphysical and doesn't have a physical ontology doesn't mean it's not real.
Yeah.
So if you dream, what you experienced was real. Otherwise, you couldn't have experienced it. And it's people were talking about the metaverse. It's not the real world. Yes, it is. Because the people interacting, the people that are controlling those avatars, it's real. Just because but that that kind of thinking demonstrates this sort of materialist assumption that unless something is physical, it's not real. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Which is ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I love the song. I love where it took me. Really, really. If you, dear listener, have had a near-death experience, put it down in the comment section.
Oh, my gosh.
I want to read it.
Yes, do so.
Put them down there. I don't know. Maybe we'll have a fireside where we just talk about near-death experiences. I don't know.
That would be crazy.
But I appreciate it. Anyway, Vin out.
Sori out.
Go.